You're just supposed to believe that somehow that's a figment of your imagination, or better yet, it's a figment of AI. Artificial intelligence. It's not real at all, ladies and gentlemen, according to the White House. According to the White House, that that Joe's actually struggling. No, he's totally fine. This is all normal. Totally, utterly normal. It's just you that are not normal for thinking that maybe he's fragile. You are the one who doesn't understand. It's just a nice, sweet moment between President Obama and Joe Biden, like the one that they just had in Las Vegas. Remember this clip that made the rounds, went totally viral after a reporter at the Hollywood Reporter sent it out? Here you see the two guys, and all of a sudden, Joe Biden starts looking off into the crowd in a really lost, dazed, and confused kind of way, as he normally does. I think we're going to work on the shot, right, Drew? There he is. Oh, wow. Wow, 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 wow. And he gets escorted off by President Obama. And somehow you're not supposed to know about that. You're just not supposed to know or think what we all think. Now, you see it too with your own two eyes, right? That is a fragile man who's struggling. You know, they want you to actually see something else entirely. And this came up recently in a press conference there in Washington, D.C.
And just a quick follow on the video you were talking about. Yeah. There were two instances in recent days where leaders, former President Obama and Giorgia Meloni, they physically put hands on the president to guide him and show him, give stage directions. Are they doing that on their own, or has anybody asked them to run the show like that?
First of all, let me spoke to the most recent, right? And as we saw on Saturday, President Obama's office put out a statement. So I would refer you to that statement about what was being accused in those by others. And he said this did not happen in the sense of what people were saying they were seeing, right? Or what was being falsely reported that they were seeing. Let's not forget, President Obama, President Biden have a relationship. They are friends. They're like family to each other. And I think that's what you saw. You saw the president put his hand on the back of President Biden, and they walked off the stage after taking questions or at an event taking questions from Jimmy Kimmel. That is what you saw. But I would refer you to President Obama's office statement. They talked about this.
Keep it going, Drew, but I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what you saw, right?
Pretty quickly.
Don't you dare think anything else.
Meloni, I don't have anything. I don't know specifically what happened with Meloni.
The wandering, the parachutist.
Oh, I mean, look, that was, as I said, it was a cheap, a cheap fake. That was definitely a cheap fake. It was. This was widely fact-checked. That video was widely fact-checked, including by conservatives media, on what happened, what occurred. The president walked over to give a thumbs up to divers who had just landed right in front of him, and if you run that tape a little bit longer, you would see what was happening, what the president was actually doing, and it is a cheap fake.
So that is what about nothing, and he's totally normal.
What I'm saying is, this is a president, right? Let's step back for a second. Instead of, and I said this moments ago, instead of Republicans, focusing on the president's performance in office and what he's been able to accomplish, his actual record, they do these cheap fakes. They're cheap fakes. And you're asking me about the Meloni, you're asking me what happened. That video was, okay, let's talk about Juneteenth. The president stood there listening to the music and he didn't dance. Excuse me, I did not know not dancing was a health issue. That is a weird thing to actually flag when, if you look at the people who are around him, you look at the expanded video of the people who were around him, they were not, there were some folks who were not dancing either. And that has been fact-checked. I mean, just because you're standing up listening to music and not dancing, that is not a health issue. That is just not a health issue.
Majorities of American voters who are telling pollsters repeatedly for years now that they have serious concerns about this president's cognitive fitness are being misled by cheap fake videos? Is that
I'm
what you're
saying
telling
that
us?
there have been, in recent weeks, there have been cheap fakes videos that have been fact-checked. They've been fact-checked by conservative media as well, to say that these videos are false. They're purposefully being altered.
So he's
That
fine.
is,
So he's fine.
that is, look,
He's fine.
the president has
This is
done
good.
more in his 3.5 years as president than most modern day president. And what he's been able to deliver. He's able to do that because he knows what he's doing. He knows how to deliver for the American people. He's able to make sure that we attack climate crisis with the Inflation Reduction Act.
Oh, no,
He's
we're
make
going
sure
back
that
there.
we're able to create 15 million jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs. He was
you
able to
keep
make sure
trying.
that unemployment
KGB, you
went
try.
down. He was able to make sure that we are able to have Medicaid actually able to negotiate with pharmaceutical companies, something that no other president has been able to do. This
And
president has
anybody
been
who
able to do.
dares to counter that, remember, it's just a cheap fake. Come on. All right. I showed you guys that video the other day of him dancing, not dancing. He's just looking all dazed and confused. And granted, we did make fun of Kamala Harris because she couldn't dance either. Like nobody at that thing could dance. But it wasn't his lack of dancing that was the issue. It was that dazed and confused look as he just stared off into space. That's not fake, KJP. That's just him. You know, was it the lights? Was it the music? Was it the commotion? I don't know, but it happened again in this particular video, which we call Dazed and Confused, because he was talking to reporters. Everybody started talking at once. And look, sadly, we've all seen this look on loved ones. If you're of a certain age, right, and you've had a grandparent or a parent or somebody else in your life, unfortunately, this is a look that too many of us actually recognize. Let's roll the tape, Drew.
I better not start the questions. I'll get in trouble.
What's your message for Super Tuesday voters?
Everyone please move this way.
Super Tuesday said, do you have a message for voters?
Starting to breathe, it looks like.
Thank you all.
It's not a cheap fake. That's reality, guys, all right? That's reality. That is the reality of the president we have now. He's 81 years old and he's clearly suffering. You saw him in France recently. Now, let me just say, we're going to show this video and we can actually all continue to talk over it. We have this video of him in France. And in France, yes, I realize that there were some media members. This one, he just starts walking off apparently to talk to someone else. So maybe that's not fair, but it's the way he's walking, right? That's what's getting him in trouble. So yes, that's the real one. There he is with Meloni and she like brings him back. Now, a lot of members of the press didn't show that there was somebody else out there that he was attracted to. But even this, the way he's putting on his sunglasses, it's like he's operating in a kind of slow motion way. He went to sit recently when he was in France. And then there was a clip that made the rounds and it looked like there was no chair there. Well, there was a chair. It's just that he's so confused and he moves so slowly that if you just showed a portion of the clip, it wasn't very flattering. It was very concerning. And people thought that, you know, he was actually having a potential personal moment. But he was just trying to sit down and his wife kind of had to guide him and eventually everybody sat down. The point is, none of this would actually be causing so much concern. None of it would be causing so much concern if it wasn't for Joe Biden walking so feebly to begin with, looking off into space constantly, not being able to remember facts and figures and names. That's why America is worried. And sure, maybe some people cut the videos in such ways, but they wouldn't have a leg to stand on if it weren't for Joe Biden himself. In other words, you're not going to do that with Gavin Newsom now, are you? You don't have that card to play because Gavin Newsom could put his sunglasses on his head immediately, as opposed to Joe Biden, who takes them and moves in slow motion, who falls at the Air Force Academy graduation, who falls up and down the stairs going onto Air Force One. They've had to change his shoes because he falls so much. Listen, KJP, this is the problem. You're gaslighting America. You're totally gaslighting them. You're telling them they're wrong, that that's not what they saw. They've got eyes. They can see. Voters know. You know what you're seeing. And she's trying to twist and turn and massage the narrative into something else. They want you to think the economy's great and that there's no inflation, except you have a grocery bill every week to pay. You have to put gas in your tank. You know what you're paying. You know what you're making. You know that it costs a lot more to take a vacation right now. And they're trying to sit there and tell you, no, it's just in your head. The numbers are really quite good. The economy is just great. That's wrong. It's actually what might ultimately cost them this election. When they talk fake news and they try and say that Donald Trump is fake, everybody else is like, okay, but wait a second here, wait a second. Just exactly what we've been living with for how long? You know, if you're somebody who's worried about inflation, you have every right to be worried about that. You should be worried about that. It's one of the reasons why I'm proud that we have partnered here on the Trish Regan Show with American Heart for Gold. I consider gold one of the best diversification strategies for hedging inflation. So take a look at this. You can get up to $15,000 in free silver if you call them and use my name. Special name dropping situation here, 1-844-495-1115. You can also text Trish, my name, to 65532. Text Trish to 65532. Give them a holler. Again, up to $15,000 in free silver. If you want to go online, I included the link, but I'm going to tell you what it is and you're not going to forget it because it's trishlovesgold.com. trishlovesgold.com. I also love silver, hence the up to $15,000 in free silver from American Heart for Gold for the viewers of this program. So use my name, go to trishlovesgold.com or text Trish to 65532. This is something you need to think about right now. They're telling you there's no inflation, and I'm telling you, it's here. And by the way, the train has left the station. I don't know how you pull this one back, and you're certainly not going to pull it back if you get another rate cut out of the Federal Reserve, as they're really hoping for, really hoping for. I'll tell you, we got a fragile president, ladies and gentlemen, a fragile one indeed. And it's a big concern in every single way.